Alright, so just going to go through a quick example of the time it takes to set up Legends of Novus. And we're going to pretend that this is for a 4-player game. So starting now, if this is your game box, let's get it set up. Open her up. We've got decks, tiles, tokens, meeples. This will be the game box. We'll have the location guide. We will have the character sheets, the rule book, and a quick reference guide. So what would happen is we want to set up the game board. The game board will be slightly smaller than this. This is just a example copy from Staples. The reference card, not really critical for setup. The rule book would be set aside for player use. The character sheets. So if we're playing with 4 players, each player would get a character sheet. So they might be sitting, we'll say they're sitting side by side, 2 on each side of the table maybe, and 2 on either end. So you could say the setup is something like that. Alright, the location guide for any player to reference there. The reward deck would get shuffled up, so that might take a minute to reshuffle after, make sure everything is the way they want it. You pick a place on the table where you'd want the decks. So we'll just say we're going to put them all here this time around. And we have the adventure deck, again, shuffling it up. Shuffle more maybe if it was just cracked open or just finished a game. But that would go there. Then we have another deck called the encounter deck. That's where all the creatures will be. Oh, we got a reward hidden in there. A couple rewards. Whoops. You can tell by the backs there's different icons. The encounter deck is the smallest deck, but you can cycle through it and reuse it. Alright, so we've got the 4 character sheets, we've got the decks. There are some other cards that will come to use in the game. We could hand out each player a quick reference sheet or card, and that helps them quickly identify what they can do on their turn. There will be some ally cards, but those are only used in special circumstances, such as for the druid. So we'll set those aside with the rules. There are advanced class cards, and those are only used once a player gets their character to 10 experience or more. They can advance their class, and that would cover up the class that they currently have. So again, those aren't used right away, those are set to the side. We have the quest creature tiles, and it's up to the players what you want to do with these. They do not have to go on the map by any means. They can easily just be put in a stack to the side. If you have a really big table and you want to add some artistic flair, you could layer them around the board in the areas that they belong. And on the back of these cards, or these tiles, is the location as to where they would go. So we'll just set these here as an example up top here. Alright, and then we have the bag of components. So you might have these pre-separated once you own the game, but each player would get 1 action die and would have 1 meeple to represent them, which could turn into character standees depending on how this game progresses. There's 1 travel die that would go in the center of the board, and players would pass it around. Each player gets their D10 action die. We've got a spare one here. Then each player places their meeple on base city. So we've got the 4 players there. And we've got the 5th, which are extras. Each player will get 10 gold pieces to start their game. So those are divvied up, 10 gold pieces each. And then each player would get 2 trackers, one for combat and one for experience. And the goal is that these are actually going to turn into a dial instead of these little cubes, and we can take this right off the sheet. But that is a pretty expensive component and requires enough people supporting the game to be able to get that as part of it. So I don't have them with me, but there would be one more marker each. That would be for the combat. Alright, so that's all set up, and then all that's left to do is hand each player 1 random reward and 1 adventure card. And so that's their starting hand, so to speak. But they can't use those cards until their first preparation phase. And that is it. That is what it takes to set up Legends of Novus for a 4-player game. Just looking at the time there, that says 6 minutes, and that's with me explaining it all. So shave off 1 minute to 2 minutes, and it would probably take you about 4 minutes to set up a 4-player game, or 1 minute per person maybe. Solo game would still take you 2 to 3 minutes because you'd still have to shuffle the decks and lay out all the tokens, but there wouldn't be as many as obviously a 4-player game. So quick and easy to set up, and then the game time depends on your experience with the game. I've played solo games that took 30 minutes or less, and I've played 4-player games that took up to 2 hours with people new to the game. But the goal is for the game to last anywhere between 45 to 90 minutes, depending on the number of players. And we'll see. It's more playtesting happening, or reviewer games and other examples, and we'll see what the different play. All right, thanks for watching again, and this has been Legend of Novus, the setting up of the game.